Hi. Don't you just love technical difficulties? Well, it's his studio crew here. You know, you just can't get the staff nowadays. Actually, it's just me and the dog. But he's stopped barking now because I was running around quickly trying to fix the problem and he started barking and I just managed to quieten him down because when I run around, he thinks something good's happening, but it's not. Well, actually, something crazy is happening. Maybe he knows that actually our dog is quite smart. There's only Sweden where people are a little bit less crazy, and there's some good news later anyway in this. I will have all this, what I've got here, on the newsletter, and those that are signed up to my newsletter will get this and me speaking the words probably a little bit more coherently on that one, although not much. Anyway, just a few little introduction. Maybe some people have not heard about this before, who I am. But I started in the late 80s looking for the cause of my parents' premature death. They died early on in their early 60s, and it's become clearer as the medical system is just simply a disease management organisation. That's all they are. They are not real healthcare. I'm not going to call them fake healthcare because most people don't know what they're doing in it. They're just trained to do what they do. And to be fair to those doctors and nurses that work in it, they've not only been trained to manage disease. They think that's what healthcare is. They just, obviously don't know any different. Some of them do, and I do get to meet them and speak to them. But the prime treatments of the pharma medical cartel are drugs, and the prime prevention is vaccination. And that's what might be happening in the world at the moment. We'll come to that. There's some ancillary treatments such as physiotherapy and others, which on the whole are quite good, and they do a good job, but they don't make illnesses go away generally. Occasionally they do, but very rarely. Before you send emails to me to say that there's one or two conditions like a rare children's blood cancer that's been cured, I do know of these things, but it's so minor. It's not even 1/100th of 1% of all the disease in the world that's been cured. So that's where we are. So millions are left to suffer with diseases going on, and not just our present flu disease that I'm going to talk about, but all sorts of diseases. There is some good sense of it because in the early 90s, Anne and I, we started to make headway helping people when we developed the HealthPoint electronic acupuncture kit, which works extremely well. And so we started to get a reputation delivering on the promise. When we say it will work, when anything works, we mean it works. So slowly we started to introduce supplements that again produce results, and they go by the name of Active Live, MSM Plus Silver, Serapeptase, MaxiFocus, Curcumin X4000, and very many more. They all do a different job and they all do a good job. I also wrote books on the diet and the plans that you need, and we have about 30 books available now. When I get time, I've got a few more to do as well. But life became really exciting helping people, because there's nothing better when people ring and say, you cannot believe this, and I know what they're going to say, But people do recover from serious problems, and this is, especially after the doctors have told them nothing can be done, and sometimes they tell them they've only got a year to live, and that's extra good. So the epidemics of seasonal flu came and went and left us all laughing at the doom and gloom stories that the pharma medical cartel put out into the media that proved wrong. SARS, swine flu, avian flu, to name a few of them. And despite the outrageous claims that the post-epidemic review showed that it was just a tiny amount of the people actually suffered with these, and mostly people had terminal diseases that suffered. It became obvious that the medical cartel had failed, and they knew they'd failed because people had stopped having vaccinations. slowly it's been drifting away. And obviously they've been scaring people every year. You've got to have a vaccination. But people are asking me and saying, do I need a vaccination? And I say, I can't persuade you, but let me tell you that I would never have any of my family have a vaccination for the flu, and I would never have one myself. So it failed. And so, to be clear, the cause of death from any flu it's just a minor. It really is minor. It's very, very small. Yet, in the UK, up to 3,000 people die in UK hospitals every week. Forget what's been happening with this flu virus. Every week, 3,000 people die every week from infections and lung diseases. And my question is, are those deaths being renamed as the virus that's in the news? I think so. I can't prove it. I will be able to prove it in a year or two, because in a year or two, there will be statistics that come out. They don't bring them out straight away, but they will be. The bean counters really do a good job at counting how many people died of this, that, and the other, and that's very good. So we'll know then. I'm sure there's lots of my newsletter readers, but I've got more facts on week 13, which is last week. This is week 14, of course. And if you look back, you'll see some of those facts that are in there. But the world's gone crazy. It really has gone crazy. I don't need to tell you what's happening in the news. People have been on lockdown, businesses failing, hundreds of thousands of businesses are going to go to the wall because, they're just a mess. And it doesn't happen everywhere. I'll come to that bit in a while. But the story all started in China, and it was difficult to pin down what actually went wrong. And I'm putting aside all the conspiracy theories. They initially overreacted, but then when they did lock down and put a quarantine in, it was unreasonable because it's a pretty tough country to look after China. But they got it under control, and all praise to them. They treated people with vitamin C, with vitamin D3, with beta-glucan, and a few antifungal drugs that were already on the market. I've mentioned those in previous weeks as well. What I didn't mention, I said they were antivirals, but they're the same drugs that are used as antifungals, and I'll come to that in a minute. So China's getting back to normal. The rest of the world is becoming chaotic and panicking and gone crazy. It doesn't seem there's any chance the rest of the world's going to get straight. We're just destroying our industry. Planes are not flying, all because they say people are dying. I actually don't believe them. There are people dying, but they're not dying of this mysterious illness, and we'll see actually where we end up with this. So as I said, there is an exception. Sweden said, funny enough, what I'd said to anybody that would stand still and listen, why don't they put all the people that are at serious risk of dying from it? Because even the government say it's only the people at serious risk of dying that there's a problem. So why don't they go into isolation, either in their homes or put them in hotels or something, and then let the rest of us get on with our work? Well, that's what they've done in Sweden. It's working fine. It really is working fine. So the people who would be dying from it, if they are dying from it, I'll dispute it. But it is working well. Now, just this last day or so, though, they've started saying, and this is the first time they've been saying it, keep 1 or 2 meters apart, actually. It would be better. But I don't think their heart's in it. But they're trying not to look too separate from the rest of the world. People like to, especially politicians, they like to be part of the club, don't they, really, So I think, what Sweden's doing is right. It should have been done. It's not going to be done because they've all gone crazy. The politicians, the farm medical cartel, the police, everybody's gone crazy. And so they're just going to destroy the economies of the world. I don't know, how we're all going to survive it, but we will. We always do, but it doesn't look good. So why are they doing this? Well, I've told you this before, on this particular Facebook Live, that I believe that the pharmaceutical industry want to vaccinate everybody this year and next year and the year after. We're talking trillions of dollars that they would be making from this. And people were giving up being vaccinated for the ordinary flu. I think this is ordinary flu, excuse me, with a different name. Sodium bicarbonate in my water as well, just in case you're thinking. And the other reason is that the powers that be are happy to see all this go wrong because they want to crash the economy to hide the fact that they're responsible for printing unfunded money, and the world is in a financial mess because of it. They're hoping to be able to, the media, I think, will actually. Anybody that's a thinking person will know that doesn't just take everything from the main media, but the main media will say, yes, it was the flu epidemic. I'm not saying the C and V word because we're getting blocked, and I'm just going to get into the habit of not using them whatsoever because I don't want my emails and also my sites blocking any more than they are now. They're already blocked. So what is it all about? Well, your guess is as good as mine, and it's a crazy situation that we've got. I read that it's already been discussed by various governments that they want to legally enforce mass vaccination. They're talking about it. Abandoning juries, they're talking about it, especially the Scottish government. Blocking emails and blocking social media messages that contain the C and V word. So there you go. Even the UK police are getting in on the act, actually, because they've suddenly been given powers to say to people, stay in your house, do this, do that. And, not like giving anybody these powers, but up until now, the police have been a bit laid back, our police in the UK, but who knows where they'll end up there. And it's not good. In fact, the UK police, I think it was today or yesterday, they issued a statement suggesting that we should all follow the directions of the leader. Their words. Sieg Heil. I don't know, crazy. Anyway, I don't know. It is crazy. So this is a situation, and I'm not mentioning the name, as I said, because I just don't want to get blocked. It's hard enough getting our message out anyway. And people do ask me, well, Robert, if it's not all true, why are the doctors doing what they're doing? Why they're all part of it? And I'm asked that all the time. And all I can say is that they are part of it. Their training told them to do this when the bosses told them to do that. And they just, that's where they are going along. It's as simple. They're just human beings. If people shout fire, they'll run for the exit, as we all do. But they've been especially brainwashed because that's all they've known all their life. They left school, college, they went to university. Everything that's is part of their life has been do this and do that, and this is real healthcare, and you're doing a wonderful job. And people go out and clap on their balconies at night for the wonderful job. I won't be rude at them, but they don't know any better, and that is all I can say about them. Anyway, so I do come across doctors, believe it or not. In fact, we've helped many thousands of people with conditions where the doctors have told them they've only got a year to live, such as lung diseases, and the people have got better. Generally they get better if they follow the plan. But then they say to us, oh, can I tell my doctor about this? Because it'd really be interested, or she'd be really interested. As I say, you can do, and guess what? They just pat them on the head and go, there. If it's good for you, then that's all right. And not one has ever come back to me. No doctor has ever come back to me and said, oh, can you tell me what you've been doing? Because it's really good. I'd like to give it to the rest of my patients. But it did happen once in 30 years. A pulmonary doctor, that's a lung, person that looks after the lungs, in the Ozarks in the USA, asked me for all the information. In fact, I went to dinner with them. We got invited. I just happened to be in Missouri. And anyway, this doctor started using the plan for a whole year. And next time I saw him a year later, he told me it's just amazing and everything what I said. And he was really excited about it. So I said, so what are you going to do? Are you going to carry on? He said, no, I'm resigning. And I said, why? And he said, well, I'm a religious person. And he said, I now know that everything we're doing is wrong. And so I can't carry on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and do charitable health work in South America, because then I can, I can do what I want to do. I've not got he didn't use the word pharma cartel hanging over me, but that's really what he meant, because doctors are attacked if they try to move away from the pharmaceutical model, and that's a fact of life. Anyway, so doctors practice healthcare, but only when they go into private practice or go and do relief work like that. Otherwise, they just do what they're told by the pharma medical cartel. So I've already told you the UK government website says it's not a serious epidemic. I was looking at a video today of the top medical person in the USA, and he'd written on his website, it's not a serious medical condition. Now he's one of the big pushers of it. So, and it's still on his website, and this is still on the UK website. So they're too stupid to even take these truths down, and there they are telling us that this is the worst medical crisis in history. They're just not true. So there is good news that I've been looking really at vitamin D3. Obviously, I've always recommended it, and you'll see it in all my supplements. But I've been doing my own research on it, and I've come across a ton of studies showing that it is one of the best things for the immune system, cancer, multiple sclerosis, as you probably heard about this. There's so many different conditions. I'm going to put them all together, and I will make them available so people can download them all. But vitamin D3 is something now which are really going to come on stronger. Anna and I have always taken it. We took between 10 and 20,000 IUs a day when we lived in Mallorca, which is a sunny island, and we also sunbathed and walked around in shorts. We were getting, with the sun and the supplements, up to 50,000 IUs a day of vitamin D3. And you will hear people say, oh, you shouldn't take too much. It's not true. The studies are very, very clear. In fact, one doctor took 2 million IUs a day just to prove that it did no harm whatsoever. And it doesn't do any harm. In fact, I've calculated that when we left Mallorca every year to come back for the winter holiday season in the UK, we've probably had 1 to 2 million IUs in our body, because your body stores the vitamin D3. And in fact, that's correctly, because it's to see you through a dark winter. Otherwise, you'd be sick in the winter. Oh, yes, people are sick in the winter. Oh, you mean the people that... Yes, you get it. One of the main reasons why you have a flu season is lack of vitamin D3. Have D3, no flu. But it is extremely good. Cancers, breast cancers, prostate cancers, all sorts this study's for. So you cannot take too much D3. If you can get up to 40, 50,000 a day with supplements, especially because the winter's still here in the UK anyway, that's fine. If you normally go out in the sun and you've got sunshine, then go out in the sunshine because you need it. Don't cover up. I mean, people have all sorts of problems in the Middle East, in the desert, because they cover up from head to toe. They just don't see the sunshine. In the USA, you've got the snowbirds, and they're retirees, and they all jump in their mobile homes and drive down to the deserts in the winter, and they camp out there. There's lots of campsites, and they have a great time. Apparently, I've spoken to many people, and they tell me about it, and they all swap stories how quick their health has improved down there. They know about D3. They know about the sunshine. I know there's also dry temperature there, dry heat, I should say, and dry heat is very good for getting rid of fungus. And you'll see in my writings that fungus is one of the main causes of disease. It could be that all flu is actual fungus, because they haven't found. I'm sure I've read this before. The story of the biologist in Germany, and he offered 100,000 euros, roughly $1, to anyone who could provide the measles, to prove the measles virus existed. And the reason he gave, he said, "There's no proof. Nobody's ever shown me any proof. So I'm trying to, get somebody to show me that it exists." Anyway, a doctor took him to court to claim this money, and this biologist lost in the lower courts. But when it finally got to the highest court said, "Okay," but sorry, the lower courts were like saying, "Oh, it must exist, so we telling you to pay this doctor this money." But the higher court said, "No, doctor, you've got to come with the real scientific evidence, because if you want this $100,000 euros, and you can, ask the medical authorities for it as well." Anyway, top and tail is they couldn't produce the evidence, and the court said no, so it's failed. And the court simply said, "You have not proven that it exists, therefore you cannot have the 100,000 euros. Now, if doctors and the authorities in Germany can't prove, which is one of the most scientific medical systems on the planet, and I know if I've got listeners in the USA, they think they are, but honestly, really, the Germans are, in fact, that's why they've got very few people dying from this flu epidemic at the moment, actually. They are experts at it all. But they're also experts at identifying whether it truly was this flu, or whether it was a lung problem or another problem. But anyway, so that's the thing. Nobody can prove the virus exists. I know you see pictures of it looking like some little monster with things sticking out. Everything you ever see is fake. You do not see any pictures. Now, they sometimes take pictures of something, but they don't really know what it is. It could be fungus. It could be a fungus that's changed slightly because people have been eating so many carbs and sugar. It's all possible, that anyway. So anyway, you as I said before, stick with the 40 or 50,000 IUs of vitamin D3. I mean, it doesn't matter if you go out in the sunshine as well. We were doing that. We were, getting maybe 100,000 some days if we were in the sun a lot, actually. But if you sunbathe, which you should, because we were meant to. That's the whole point. You know, we were not meant to protect ourselves from the sun. Excuse me. But that's in the mornings. The best time to sunbathe is in the morning, and up until about maybe 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Then in the afternoon, the sun is a different type of wavelength, and it's not healthy. And certainly don't use suntan oil and suntan lotion, because that makes it worse, actually, and it doesn't protect you from. It might protect you from burning, but it won't protect your skin from skin cancer later on. You know, so morning up to lunchtime is good, and then cover up. And if you want to be on the beach, get under an umbrella or something. Anyway. No, that's it, really. I can go on. What you say? I'm always going on. But it's a tough call, all this, actually. It's not nice for me to do this research. I was just saying to my wife today, I find it really weird knowing that the countries are being taken over by this pharma medical cartel, and they're having businesses, people's livelihoods destroyed, even when the experts have written previously that this is not a serious event. But now somebody has hijacked it. Is it the pharma cartel? Is it the central banks? Is it both of them? Is it world governments? I don't know. I have no idea. But I know that we all have to look after ourselves. So please, please do look after yourself. And I'll be back next Thursday. Take care. Bye.